Week 6 of the college football season is in the books, and a new team finds itself atop the Big 12 conference standings. Now we get you ready for an offensive showdown as 18th ranked Kansas State travels to Boulder to take on the Colorado Buffaloes. All that and much more coming up right now on Inside the 12. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Inside the 12 alongside Pete Souza. I'm Madison Hawk. It's hard to believe we're gearing up for Week 7 of the college football season, and right now it does feel like it's anyone's league to grab inside the Big 12.
Yeah, and conference heavyweights, by the way, BYU, Utah, Kansas State, and Colorado, all with byes last week. They are all ready to rock for Week 7.
A lot of good games coming up. Here's the matchups that we are going to see in Week 7. Only 5 Big 12 games on the schedule, but hey, they're all good ones. The conference has 4 teams ranked in the top 18. Fox Big Noon Kickoff heads to Provo, Utah this week, where 14th ranked BYU hosts the Arizona Wildcats. And Pete, they're coming off a bye week. Going to be fun to see them back in action.
Oh, Cougar Tales all around for Rob Stone and the boys coming into town from Fox. First time since 2009 that they have had a national pregame show on campus in Provo. After the pregame, Gus Johnson, Joel Klatt in for the call. It just feels big this weekend.
Well, in a game that is sure to feature plenty of fireworks, Colorado is set to host number 18 Kansas State. It's going to be an electric matchup between 2 highly touted quarterbacks. You all have heard of them, Avery Johnson and Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, Chris Kleiman, Kansas State head coach, says Shedeur Sanders should go number 1 as far as quarterbacks are concerned in the NFL draft. That is high praise.
Well, before we jump too far ahead to Week 7, let's recap the biggest games from Week 6. We're going to start with Texas Tech and Arizona. Arizona was rolling heading into its matchup against the Red Raiders because, as a reminder, they had just handed Utah its first loss of the season. However, it was Texas Tech putting up points early. Baron Morton didn't light up the stat sheet, so to speak, but he made plays when it mattered in big-time moments. Here he is connecting with Micah Hudson on a 38-yard strike. That sets up Taj Brooks, who stuffs it in. You're going to hear about Taj Brooks coming up more in this show as well. It was the first of his 3 touchdowns on the week. Huge game for Brooks.
Huge game for Brooks, and this is just a major miscue here. Noah Fafita probably looking down the field for his main target, Ted McMillan, but you saw right in coverage was Macho Stevenson, and the big interception was made right behind him. And then the Wildcats came storming back in this one. There was a late rally at home. You were feeling good if you were a fan in Tucson. But then here we go. Ted McMillan had 160 yards. Jacob Rodriguez comes through and punches the football out. Watch this again. That's textbook, about as good as it gets. That's really not on McMillan as it is so much a great play by Jacob Rodriguez. Texas Tech, their schedule softens a little bit. They have Baylor and TCU coming up. Those teams share just 1 Big 12 win. Also, Micah Hudson, a 5-star recruit, best player in the state of Texas. Him getting involved for Texas Tech is huge.
Yeah, rolling right now for the Red Raiders. With the loss to Arizona, they fall to 3-2, and Texas Tech finds themselves at the top of the Big 12. Let's go ahead and take a look back now at the Week 6 scoreboard. Arizona State scores a touchdown in the final seconds to take down Kansas 35-31, the final in that one. And how about West Virginia going on the road and upsetting Oklahoma State 38-14, Pete?
West Virginia doesn't have a conference loss. I feel like that's a secret right now. They're 3-2, 2 losses to Penn State and undefeated Pitt. Look out for the Mountaineers. They're talking about postseason in Morgantown.
Wow, good for them. Iowa State with a big statement win, defeating Baylor by 22. They trailed early in this one, but turned it on late in the second quarter behind quarterback Rocco Beck in a 2-headed rushing attack.
542 yards of total offense. That is their highest output in 2 seasons. This is what we've been waiting for. How about that play right there? Rocco Beck steps right up into the teeth of pressure, throwing a dart down the field. And here in the red zone, does it with that soft touch. This was a close one early on, but play from Beck like this enabled the Cyclones to step away. Also, they have a stable of running backs that have been producing. Carson Hansen right here banging his way down the field inside the 40. He had 97 yards on the day, but not to be outdone. Jalen Jackson, watch him here, scoots across the 20. Look at that move. He had 107 total yards on the day. This is a Cyclones team that is now really rounding into form. They are ranked 11th in the country, and they have earned it.
Yeah, and most importantly, with the win, the Cyclones improved to 5-0 on the season. As for Houston, they decided to make a quarterback change heading into Week 7, coming off back-to-back shutout losses. Zeon Chris made his first career start in place of Donovan Smith. What did you think of this decision, Pete?
Well, I think it was great because it worked out, right? Here he is back in the pocket making the throw. That's a perfect throw. And then you got to give credit to Houston offensive coordinator Kevin Barbay, dialing up all the right plays, putting Chris in the position to win. Here's a design draw, really getting his quarterback in his zone, taking advantage of his quickness and his vision. Houston and Willie Fritz get their first Big 12 win. Big deal.
When we come back, Big 12 running backs are running wild and making noise on the national scene. Keep it locked on Inside the 12 as we are going to highlight some of the top running backs within the league. Welcome back to Inside the 12. I'm Madison Hawk alongside Pete Souza. Last week, we showed you the top wide receivers in the Big 12 through the start of the college football season. Now it's time to dive into the running backs. 4 of the top 10 FBS leaders in rushing yards per game are all Big 12 running backs.
Yeah, and that's why we're talking about these guys. And don't forget, at the end of this segment, we're going to wrap and talk about some of the other huge running back names that aren't on this list because of the noise these 4 are making.
Yeah, it really was hard to pick just 4, but let's start with UCF's running back R.J. Harvey, a guy that you are really big on.
I'm huge on him, and he's only 5'9", but he plays very big. Here's a look at his quickness and ability to get to the second level. Elusive and explosive. Those are words you hear a lot around R.J. Harvey. 91 carries on the season for 600 yards. He has been the bell cow, and also has been a touchdown scoring machine. 9 touchdowns on the year. And also, he can catch passes out of the backfield, which NFL scouts love. I talked to my man Todd McShay yesterday. He's got R.J. Harvey going in the 4th round of the NFL draft this year.
Wow, you saw his speed. Now look at his numbers. His rush attempts, 91. But take a look at touchdown. He has 9 on the season. 5th best in NCAA.
Tied for 5th, like you said, and he can find the chains, right? 33 first downs on the season. Those are the little type of intangibles that scouts love to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, how about Arizona State's Cam Scatterbo? He had 182 rushing yards last week. Those were 2nd most rushing yards in Division I during week 6. So those are the numbers, but let his play speak for itself. This guy goes 110% every single snap. You see his ability to break tackles up the middle. His speed is also electric. Kenny Dillingham said Scatterbo is absolutely critical to the success of this team. Yes, because of his ability to run the football, but also, hey, he can run routes as well, as you're going to see him here connecting on a slant route for 19 yards. And oh, did I mention he also plays special teams? You take a look at his numbers as well. 1st in first downs.
Yeah, he really has defined the running back position out there in the Sun Devil State.
Let's go to Taj Brooks from Texas Tech, another guy that you have been saying throughout this season of Inside the 12 that you really like his game.
He runs angry. You got to love watching this guy play football. Yards after contact, and there he is, can cut on a dime. Some of the best feet in college football. And you don't think this guy likes to mix it up? Watch one more time. Let me stay in bounds and get my money's worth here as I try to power my way into the defense. And here he is again, swerving to a huge gain. Texas Tech is a very good football team, not because they've been throwing the ball as much as they have in recent history, but because of Taj Brooks. He's 81 yards away from being the all-time leading rusher at Texas Tech.
Wow.
Let that sink in for a second.
Breaking tackles, breaking ankles. That's the reason why his numbers are top 10 in multiple categories. But how about 4th in rushing yards? 675 rushing yards on the season for Taj Brooks.
Breaking tackles, breaking ankles. I like that. Making dudes miss all over the field.
Hey, I had to do it. Kansas State's DJ Giddens is the anchor of the Wildcats offense. He's a guy that I have loved watching all season. It does kind of seem silly to say that he is an anchor of the offense considering we talk so much about Avery Johnson, but that's because when all else fails, just give Giddens the ball. His run game is able to create rhythm within the offense, which helps Avery Johnson's development because Giddens is able to space the field. Take a look at his ability to break tackles because of his footwork. He's agile, he's quick, he's shifty. Wildcats head coach Chris Kleinman said their identity is Giddens right now, and it's really paying off for the Wildcats.
Yeah, watch how he runs. Just his ability to run tall kind of reminds me of Eric Dickerson, you know, when he gets into space. 400 carries on his career. This season alone, he's got 604 yards. He's got durability and explosiveness on his side.
A lot of great names that we just mentioned with Big 12 running backs, but that's not even to mention Kansas's Devin Neal and Utah's Mekhi Bernard. Both guys are leading the way for their teams with over 550 yards on the ground.
Yeah, and we didn't even mention Ollie Gordon yet. He's a guy, again, I go back to my conversation with Todd McShay, NFL draft analyst. Ollie Gordon is still projected to be the #1 Big 12 running back taken in the NFL draft. And you mentioned Bernard, you mentioned Neal. This year's draft class overall is loaded with running backs.
More on Inside the 12 when we come back. Welcome back to Inside the 12. It's time now to preview the Week 7 matchups. 4 Big 12 teams are ranked in the top 25, and they are all in action this week. Let's start with Friday night's big game as number 16 Utah is at Arizona State. That game's at 10:30 Eastern on ESPN, so grab your coffee for that one. Still questions around who will be under center for the Utes, and Sun Devils head coach Kenny Dillingham said his team is going to prepare for 2 quarterbacks this week.
Kenny Dillingham was in hot pursuit of Isaac Wilson, wanted him to come to Arizona State, so he knows Wilson's game. But Cam Rising's status, again, up in the air. In the meantime, the Sun Devil scout team quarterbacks, they're going to be busy this week.
It could be Mekhi Bernard time if that's the case.
It could be Mekhi Bernard time, and for very good reason. He has been running so well this season, and that running game has really been a focal point for Utah while the questions around the quarterback position have remained. Arizona State, Cam Skattebo, look for them to keep it on the ground as well. 300 yards last week for that Arizona State offense against Kansas.
Well, moving on, Saturday we have Cincinnati heading to Orlando to take on UCF at 3:30 Eastern on ESPN2. Of course, a lot of weather concerns surrounding this one. It's set to kick off Saturday from Orlando, but a hurricane could change that. Football right now, the last thing on a lot of people's mind as head coach Gus Malzahn was asked the question about how you can even prepare in circumstances like this.
You know this as being a college hoops player. I know it from being around football. It's all about routines, and Coach Gus Malzahn said he wants his team to stay in their routine this week. No matter what happens, they will have a plan. He says they'll adjust to make sure the players and people in the program are taken care of off the field.
Yeah, hopefully everyone is staying safe down in Florida. On the field, this is the second week in a row UCF is playing a team coming off a bye, and Gus Malzahn can't be looking forward to facing a fresh Brendan Sorsby, that's for sure.
I've used this word before. I got to use it again. Sorsby has been surgical. Maybe it's because of a little alliteration, or is that how you say it? Yeah. He has been so efficient. 12 touchdowns and just 1 interception. Keep your eye on that guy.
Big noon kickoff is headed to Provo, Utah, where number 14 BYU is set to take on Arizona. That game's at 4 o'clock Eastern on Fox. BYU head coach Kalani Sitake and Arizona's Brett Brennan became very close when they were together on the staff at Oregon, but all the friendly stuff, that's out the window this week because they're competitors.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Sitake said. He said, we haven't talked as much because we're playing each other. Remember, too, Arizona went into Salt Lake City against a top 10 Utah team, and Brett Brennan and his team were able to pull off the upset. He doesn't just know Kalani Sitake, he knows the type of environment they're going into.
And right now, the passing game for the Wildcats just jumps off the page. Noah Fafita, 300 yards passing last week, and Ted McMillan, almost 200 yards receiving. So with all that talent, it begs the question, how can BYU stop them?
Oh, this is my favorite time of the week. Old Trapper beef jerky. What's your beef? My beef is that there's not enough respect for the BYU defense. Jay Hill's squad is 4th in the country in defensive efficiency. The Cougar defense has allowed just 15.8 points per game through 5 contests. The defense finished the 2023 season allowing 29.8 points per game. That's about a 14-point differential. The Cougars defense already has 10 sacks this season. They had 11 all of last year. Look for the Cougs to lean on the blitz.
It's going to be a fun game nonetheless. Next up, number 11 Iowa State looks to keep their undefeated streak alive when they square off versus West Virginia. That game is at 8 o'clock on Fox. This might be the biggest conference game in Morgantown in more than 5 years. All of a sudden, things are trending in the right direction for West Virginia after that convincing win at Oklahoma State.
A key to their momentum has been running the football. 389 yards against Oklahoma State. Some of that is matchups, but this is a West Virginia offense and an offensive line that's been controlling the line of scrimmage.
It is going to be a tall task for that defense for West Virginia going up against an Iowa State attack that has been scoring in so many different ways with so many different options.
Yeah, Cyclones use a lot of motion and shifts and multiple tight end sets. They keep you guessing. Cool wrinkle to this game, Anthony Becht, whose son Rocco Becht is the Iowa State quarterback, obviously. Anthony is a Hall of Fame player at West Virginia. He'll be back in town to watch his son and to be honored for that West Virginia Hall of Fame. A lot going on for the Becht family this weekend.
Yeah, congratulations to them.
Yeah.
And now finally for our game of the week, number 18, Kansas State heads to Boulder for a showdown with Colorado. That game's at 10:15 on ESPN. We have a very special guest joining us now to help us break down this matchup. He is the all-time leader in all-purpose yards with 5,760 yards for the Buffaloes, none other than Phillip Lindsay. Phillip, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm excited to be here with you guys today.
Yeah, we got a whole roster of stuff for you to do. So we're going to go through this matchup first. I wanted to ask you a little bit about the environment on Saturday night. Kansas State favored in this game, but when you can't quantify the energy right at that stadium for a night game in the Big 12, and Colorado's still not ranked in the top 25. I imagine a lot is on the line.
Oh, there's a lot on the line, and we know that if we can win this game, and we, the Colorado Buffaloes, can win this game Saturday night, we will be ranked. But let me tell you guys this. There truly is magic on Folsom Field during night games. And you've seen the Hail Mary that Colorado and Shedeur Sanders threw to win the game against Baylor. And so for me, it's going to be a big game. It's a big-time game. Shedeur Sanders is going to have to play well. And they can, but they're going to have a little bit of that Folsom magic to help them out.
Talk about magic. Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter, so much fun to watch. I want to ask you, because you're able to watch them play in person every single game, how much fun are they to just witness in person with their chemistry?
Man, they're fun. They're fun. And I've never seen, and I don't think any of us have ever seen anything like Travis Hunter. And then you add Shedeur Sanders, who will be a top drafted player. You know, he could be number one because he's playing the quarterback position. They're a fun tandem, and they find ways to make big plays.
Well, you talk about Kansas State. Avery Johnson has done a terrific job, and Coach Kleiman has talked about playing in that environment. They're already practicing with all kinds of noise, trying to do everything they can to get ready. But Avery Johnson, DJ Giddings, that's quite the attack on offense. How do you stop them?
It is. It is. What you do is you have to be fundamentally sound. You have to stay home. Robert Livingston's going to come up with a great game plan. Can they get a couple of turnovers? Can they utilize the crowd? And most of all, that people don't talk about, and it's really big in the NFL when people come to Denver, is the altitude. It's hard. It's hard to play here and play fast. And I think that that's going to be an advantage to the Colorado Buffaloes if we can take advantage of it. It could turn the game and help the Colorado Buffaloes win it.
All right, Phillip, you're hired. Yeah. Now you got to stick around for the next segment. Don't go anywhere. We're going to take a break, but you're picking games with us.
We are back on Inside the 12. Madison Hawk alongside Pete Souza. It's time now for our favorite segment, our picks. And I will say I have to cut myself a piece of humble pie on this one. Pete, you did in fact beat me last week, but we are still tied at 12-9, so all good, right?
Welcome back to Earth, man.
Thank you for keeping me humble. We want to bring back in Colorado Buffalo legend Phillip Lindsay for our picks this week. Phillip, I will say we're pretty competitive on this show, so how are you feeling going into this?
Oh, I feel great. I'll tell you this, I don't lose a lot.
Yeah.
So if I pick a team, you guys might want to pick the same team as me.
Okay, I like the confidence. I like it. Well, let's start with Friday night's big game, number 16 Utah at Arizona State. That kickoff is at 10:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. Who do you like in this one, Phillip?
I like the Utes, and here's why. Kyle Whittingham, I played for 4 years. All right, his teams are tough, gritty, disciplined, and they're coming off a loss, but they're also coming off a bye with well rested, right? They're well rested, and for me, they're going to have a great game plan. And Arizona State is an up-and-coming team, an up-and-coming program. I just don't think that Arizona State gets it done. Utah Utes, 37-20.
Yeah, I'm with Phillip. I like Utah.
Yeah, Utah as well. Let's start with Saturday's game. Cincinnati facing UCF in Orlando. That kickoff is set for 3:30 on ESPN. Who are you taking in this one?
Yeah, Cincinnati Bearcats, man. They're the underdogs, okay? I didn't expect Cincinnati to be as good as they are and winning the games that they are winning. The quarterback is doing well. And UCF, Colorado cracked the code on UCF, all right? And I think that Cincinnati's going to upset UCF 31.
I like it.
All right, I'm going with Cincinnati as well. Yeah, I'm going with Cincinnati.
Yeah, you're going with Cincinnati. I'm going with UCF. I feel like I'm going with the Knights. I like them right now. The Arizona Wildcats looking to bounce back versus number 14 BYU. Fox Big Noon kickoff is in town for this one. 4 o'clock kickoff. Who do you like, Phillip?
Yes, you're going to have to give me BYU. All right, it's a home game for them. They're rolling. They're disciplined. They're tough. They're fun to watch. They're fundamentally sound and all around just a good team. Now, Arizona, all right, the Arizona Wildcats, they're a tough team, and a lot of people were high on them at the start of the season. They got to get the receiver involved. McMillan has to get involved if they want to win this game. But give me BYU 42-28.
I'm with Phillip. I like BYU as well.
BYU with me as well. Number 11, Iowa State heads to Morgantown to take on West Virginia. That game's at 8 o'clock Eastern on Fox. Who you taking in this one?
It's going to be an upset. Iowa State is a really, really good football team, and they're trying to win their conference. But West Virginia is going to have something for them, and it's in West Virginia. I see an upset coming. Give me 27-24 walk-off fashion. West Virginia wins.
I'm not going to be that exact, but I like the upset too. I like West Virginia.
Nope, Iowa State for me. I'm not going with the upset. It's time now for our game of the week. Number 18, Kansas State versus Colorado. This is a late one, 10:15 kickoff on ESPN. Phillip, you know this Buffalo program so well. How do you see this game going down?
It's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a tough one, but I think Robert Livingston, the defensive coordinator, is going to game plan well. And Pat Shurmur, who was actually my offensive coordinator with the Denver Broncos, I think he's going to have a great game plan as well. So for me, it's going to be an easy no-brainer. Colorado Buffaloes win this. It's going to be 34-30.
34-30 Colorado, not so fast. I'm going with Kansas State, Phillip. I got to stick with my head here. My heart wants me to go Buffs, but I'm going Wildcats.
Not so fast, Lee Corso there. I'm also going not so fast. It's hard to pick against Colorado and Deion Sanders because I know he's always going to have them prepared. But in this one, I have to say, I like Kansas State as well. I think Avery Johnson's just making too much happen for them right now.
So like Coach Prime loves to say, you don't believe.
Yeah.
We're going to see.
Don't tell him I said that, though. Don't tell him that, because I do always believe in the Buffaloes.
I don't like the Colorado Buffaloes. We'll see, man.
Yeah.
We'll see. I think there's some false magic still left on that field, and we get it done.
Yeah, well, we'll find out next week how we did on our picks. Phillip, you were great. Thanks so much for joining us, and good luck on the call this weekend.
All right. Thank you guys for having me.
That's going to do it for us here on Inside the 12. Thanks so much for joining us. Enjoy your weekend full of college football.